Okay.
We'll not lose time.
Okay, ma'am.
Shall we?
Yes, ma'am.
Yashoda, you can start.
Yes, okay. Uh, on behalf of IIP and IIPWC UT of Puducherry, I take immense pleasure and welcome Advocate Advocate Reena Aishwarya, and we are all set here to get drenched in the knowledge of laws which will give women more empowerment. And I have welcome all the participants. So I guess let's just start. Supriya ma'am.
Yeah?
Yeah, ma'am. Shall we have a start?
Yes. Very good afternoon to everybody who's present here, especially Advocate Reena ma'am for she's a eminent and a leading lawyer here in Puducherry. And she's well known to many people. Maybe most of you here in the panel too may be knowing her. She's an academician too, or she teaches law students, and I felt she's the best person to chair today's session and share her knowledge on the laws governing women, especially on empowerment. I've heard that she's an excellent speaker. I'm sure that this is going to be a good session for all of you this afternoon. And we take immense pleasure on behalf of the IAP State Branch of Puducherry and the Indian Association of Physiotherapists Women Cell, headed by the state coordinator, Dr. Yashoda, in welcoming each and every one of you who has taken time off to participate with us. Without much ado, madam, off to you to share your knowledge with us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. First of all, thanks for arranging this. Thanks to the technology for getting us here to share and interact few to prevent loss. Dr. Supriya, I know she's also involved in many social activities apart from the physiotherapy, and it is very nice to join you people today. And for us, the topic is what is the role of law towards the women empowerment. Like, I just think of the laws, monotonous to hear. I don't know whether you people separate subject like law of physiotherapy or something like that. To know any law, you just have to get it connected to your life. You will never forget those laws. That is my opinion. And empowerment is.
Can I please interrupt for a minute? I think the audio is not that clear. Is it clear for the rest of the people? Reena ma'am?
Ma'am, her net is slow, I believe, ma'am.
You'll have to ask her to connect then to Wi-Fi and do this because
Yes, ma'am.
audio is not so clear and the content is so good, so I don't want people to miss it.
Yes, ma'am. Her net is slow, ma'am, actually.
The rest can be muted, so
Yes.
we won't have much echo. Reena ma'am, are you there? Is Reena ma'am there?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, I'm there. Can I continue?
Yes, continue, please. Your audio wasn't that good, ma'am. The quality was poor. So maybe you can connect to Wi-Fi and try again.
Yeah, it is connected to the Wi-Fi.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, now it is clear. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Empowerment is making somebody stronger or confident to feel oneself and to lead their life independently. And women empowerment is taken in our society nearly economic independence of a woman. Whether it will make her empowered, that is the question many has in their own minds. But if I say mere economic independence is not women empowerment at all. It is making the women to participate along with men in all parts of the society, like social, economic, political, in all spheres of the society. The equal participation on par with men. That is the real empowerment. And the women empowerment laws, in what way they support women empowerment. It started way back in the year 1950, like when our Constitution of India was enacted by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. See, for any country, there will be a constitution, either written or oral. In India, it is the lengthiest constitution in the world. And the constitution, almanac, I would say, it's the almanac, a basic document. It is the supreme law of the land. And all the other laws, they get their origin only from the constitutional law. And in the constitutional law itself, there are specific with respect to fundamental duties, the directive principles of the state policy with respect to women. And in a few examples, I would say Article 14, equality and equal protection of law. There shall not be any discrimination in terms of race, caste, sex, religion, or of any sort toward a person. And this is enshrined in Article 15. And with respect to education and employment, no woman or but with any weaker section should not be deprived of their education or employment opportunities, and all have to be given equal opportunities to work and to earn. Then a healthy environment. Everybody has got a personal right and liberty to live in a healthy environment and a safe environment. It applies not only to the domestic environment as well as working place. The place should be healthy and safe for anyone to work in. Though the Constitution is applicable to all citizens of India, there are some specific provisions with respect to women in empowering them or promoting them, and also the participation of women in terms of local panchayats or municipalities, or even the legislative assembly elections or the central election, whatever it is. All women should be given the right to participate in the leadership also all over the country. That is
Have we lost the audio?
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Dr. Supriya? Yeah.
Yes, please. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Now, based on the Constitution, no, stay on non-state. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so there's problem with the Wi-Fi, I suppose. Based on the Constitution, there are many enactments that were enacted by our Parliament with respect to empowering a woman. Like, I just want to correlate the journey of the life of a woman and the supporting laws, which will be interesting to hear, I would say. See, a woman is a very, very special blessing from God, I would say, because as soon as she formed as a fetus in her mother's womb, attempts are made to kill her. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, madam.
Yeah. As soon as she is formed as a fetus in her mother's womb, attempts are being made to kill her. So it is such peculiar, it is very peculiar that a child, even before it is getting formed in a mother's womb, people are trying to end her life. So the laws which came into being in the year 1961, Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1961, that act was mainly enacted with the purport to abolish unwanted abortions. The female foeticide. To curb the female foeticide, the Act of Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1961 was enacted. So the female fetus needs the female needs a protection, legal protection, even as soon as she's being formed in her mother's womb. So thereafter, hello.
Hello. Yes, ma'am. Please
Uh,
continue. Somebody has
then-
shared their screen. Please ensure that you're not sharing your screen when the
Yeah.
person is speaking.
Yeah. Then thereafter, the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act has got its the enlarged version as in the year 1991, the pre-conception and prenatal techniques for protection against misuse. Like how the pre-conceptional and prenatal techniques are used by the medical practitioners, or it is misused by the medical practitioners. Like than me, you medical people are well aware that sex determination is an offense. And any medical practitioner who does the sex determination at the instigation of the parents or the family members of the pregnant woman or by the pregnant woman herself will be taken for imprisonment for 3 years, and with also a fine amount if it is for the first time. And if we continue to do that, it is for almost for 5 years of imprisonment. And even at the first time or at the first attempt, the medical practitioner's name will be removed from the register maintained by the Medical Council of India, and his practice also will be suspended for 5 years. If it is for the first time he does it. If he continues to do that, permanently the name will be removed from the register. So these are all the safeguards given to a female when she is inside her mother's womb. So with all this protection, fortunately she enters the world, and thereafter comes the real pain. See, we are all fortunate enough to have a good education, and we are all working women, and I think we are all very fortunate enough to be that way. But there are many women, children, even till date, who are unable to take a basic school education owing to their family circumstances, or owing to the poverty, or due to unwanted conventions within the family. So there comes the Compulsory Education Act for the women children, wherein though there is no specification with respect to the gender, any child in India should get compulsory and free education up to the age of 14 years. And all the central and the state governments, all the state governments along with the central government have to ensure that the children are getting free education along with proper food, proper sanitation up to the age of 14 years. Then comes, even now in some northern parts of India and even in the southern parts, there are child marriage still happening. We can also go through the newspapers and media regularly. And any child who has not attained her majority, that is 18 years, cannot be given or taken in marriage. And if any person attempts to do that, will be taken for a ride and can be even imprisoned up to 2 years. And the child whose life is put to threat in the hands of the family members should be taken care of by the government through children welfare homes or the child welfare committees, and to make sure that they are safe and they are given with proper basic needs. So these are all the situation faced by the female child once she is born and during her childhood. And there is one more important law, which is the burning topic of the land now, is the POCSO laws, Prevention of Sexual Harassment Against Children. The POCSO laws, you will not believe, even in a small place with a small diameter like Pondicherry, we could see many innumerable cases of POCSO against female children. And it is very pathetic to see also. And there are child welfare committee in each and every district headquarters who have to have a regular check on the orphanages or the homes or schools or boardings or hostels, and to make sure that the children are safe over there. Again, it is not a gender-based, but unfortunately, most of the victims are female children. Under the POCSO laws, a child till the age of 18 years, a female or a male, until the age of 18 years is considered to be a child. So any act of sexual harassment, there are many categories as such. Oral sexual harassment or penetrative sexual harassment. And the Child Welfare Committee takes the case in hand and makes a thorough inquiry, and all these proceedings should be conducted in camera. And it is not open to public to watch whatever happened to the child. The victim child has to be examined in camera, even by the Child Welfare Committee or the women police or by the judge. So these are all the proceedings. And moreover, in the POCSO cases, the punishment may range from 3 years up to life imprisonment based on the vulnerability. So the POCSO laws are the burning topic of the day. So the child until she attains 18 years of age, these are all the pains she undergo. And thereafter, okay, she completes her degree and she wants to enter a job. So equal job opportunities to both men and women. She gets a job also based on her educational qualification or her talent. Whether she is paid equally on par with men, that is the Equal Remuneration Act. A woman or a man, based on their work nature, have to be paid equally. So there came many labor laws with respect to women. Equal Remuneration Act and the Maternity Benefit Act. During the course of employment, if a woman is in her family way, the maternity leave which can be availed by her was initially only 12 weeks. Now it has been increased by way of an amendment in the year 2017. This 12 weeks have been increased to 26 weeks. And adding to that, these days, even the father of the child is given with a maternity benefit leave, provided they make use of the time with the wife of the child. Again, the adopted mother as well. If the spouses doesn't have a child and they want to go in for an adoption, even towards the adopted child, the adopted mother have to spend time. She is also entitled for this 12 weeks of maternity leave. And under the Maternity Benefit Act, if her work nature permits her to work from home, she can very well work from home. And if at all the child is a special child, this maternity leave even can be extended with payment, provided the employer is convinced about that. If definitely the child needs the mother's care and support for quite some more time, It is purely at the understanding and under the satisfaction of the employer. So this is the Maternity Benefit Act. Then there comes the sexual harassment at workplace, though you're going to have a separate seminar on that, but still, during the course of employment, these days women in any field are put to too many harassments by the co-workers or by the employers. And now it is mandatory that any establishment which has 10 persons and more, 10 employees and more, should have a internal complaints committee. The internal complaints committee should be headed by the senior staff of the establishment with 2 other staffs and with 1 NGO. And any form of sexual harassment, it can be physical, verbal, or it can be defaming somebody, or it is like the the POSH committee will be headed by a chairman along with 4 other members, maybe from the NGO and maybe 1 lawyer, 1 doctor. The quorum consists of 5. So this is with respect to sexual harassment at workplace. Now, these are all happening during the course of employment of women. Then she gets married. She gets married, or she want to get married. Let us even go prior to that. She wants to get married. The spouse should be of her own choice. Then the personal laws. If a woman attains majority, she can have her choice of life. Even she can go for intercaste marriage, interreligious marriage. If it is an interreligious marriage, she is safeguarded by the Special Marriage Act. A man and a woman belonging to 2 different religions also can get married under the Special Marriage Act. So there also she is protected. Thereafter, okay, she got married and she's entering her marital abode with so much of dreams and hopes for a blissful life. But again, there comes our real villains and heroes. The Dowry Prohibition Act was enacted for that purpose, because even till date, as a female advocate, I could, even during this lockdown period, unfortunately, every day I used to get calls from new clients that the girl is being harassed by her in-laws, by her own husband, for the sake of dowry. See, dowry is something, it's an asset or a security given or taken during the course of marriage. But what the law says is either giving or accepting dowry is punishable. It is punishable with 2 years of imprisonment. And if at all the dowry harassment aggravates and it ends the life of the girl, it is termed as dowry death, and it is dealt in Indian Penal Code under section 304B. If within 7 years of marriage, if a girl is put to at most dowry harassment, verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, all with an intention to grab her property or her belongings or to extract money from her parents, then the person who are all proved to be guilty of the offense shall be punishable with 7 years of imprisonment, and sometimes it may be even more than that. It may be a life imprisonment, depending on the facts and circumstances of the cases. So this is Dowry Prohibition Act. Then after that, now again a burning topic, maybe in Pondicherry it is not that severe. I'm from Tamil Nadu. I know it is more from Tamil Nadu, I would say, the honor killing. Honor killing is at another burning topic to be looked into, because to a girl marries a boy of a different caste, or even if it can be otherwise, a lower caste boy marrying a upper caste girl, or a lower caste girl marrying a upper caste boy, all these things. In such situation, the family members who are unable to take up this, who are unable to digest this, they go for a honor killing, which is ultimately a murder, which also amounts to domestic violence. See, domestic violence, the basic criteria is a shared household. In a shared household where the girl, her husband, her in-laws, and other family members are there under one roof they are. This domestic violence is also categorized as physical violence like assault or causing blood injuries or grievous injuries. Then verbal violence, it is more than killing, more than a physical violence, like addressing her with a nickname. If she, for example, if she is a specially differentially abled person, like calling her as a limp, all this verbal violence. If she is dark in complexion, making a comment on that complexion. And economic violence, like extracting all her belongings, her jewels, her salary, her income and everything, and trying to dispose of her removable assets and just leaving her bare hand. It is economic violence. Then emotional abuse. Now a new category is emotional violence. Like emotional violence, like a psychopath, they try to make her cry the whole day, the stress and the depression they cause. Sometimes the stress and depression will ultimately lead to hemorrhage or abortion, or those all psychiatric related issues are mainly because of this emotional violence caused in the in-laws place. Again, I would say this domestic violence, Prevention of Domestic Violence Act 2005 is also not a gender specific act. It is equally applicable to a man as well. But unfortunately, most of the victims, 95% of the victims are women. So prevention of women from domestic violence, that is one other act. Then comes just a moment. The Hindu Widows Remarriage Act. I would say this was the first act that came into being in India even before the Indian Constitution. That is, even in the British period, 1856, the Hindu Widows Remarriage Act. Any widow is entitled to have a second life. And this is I would say this is the first act that came into being, 1856, because she should have a second life. So these are all the important acts, I would say, safeguarding the rights of a woman and empowering her. And what are all the nationalized or state level agencies in